11 years, or 415 days? How about 132 months? These numbers all represent a timeline determined by scientists that we only have 11 years to potentially reverse permanent damage of our planet due to climate change. For anybody who needs a clarification on just what climate change is, it's considered to be any long-term shift in temperatures and weather patterns that are disruptive to the normal nature of the planet. For most of us, it's hard to imagine the significant magnitude of climate change, but even more so, the dramatic effect that we have on climate change. In fact, according to a poll done on Americans last year in 2022, only 57% of Americans believe that climate change was influenced by human activity. 27% believed climate change is just simply naturally occurring, and the other remaining 4% think it's all a farce. But yet, according to an article published by the Environmental Protection Agency, stated that carbon dioxide, a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, accounted for 79% of all US emissions alone. Climate change is a crisis, and we are a trigger. If there's anything we all know about climate change, it's the relevance of greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are gases that are prevalent in the atmosphere but trap heat, with carbon dioxide being the single largest source of human emissions. There was an article published by two scientific authors back in 2006, Thomas Karl and Kevin Trenberth, whose research showed that at that time emissions were on the rise up to 1% higher per year over the last several years, just in the US. But how can we fix that? Doesn't it cost money? Now, this wouldn't even be an argument without some level of disagreement. And of course, with climate change, there are several, especially when it comes to politics. The most common and influential argument is a concern over how much money the remediation of climate change costs. And of course, money is sacred, it's an absolute necessity, but instead of looking at the smaller solutions, we choose to look at the much larger, economically heavy solutions due to the obvious dramatic impact that they would have. But many of us can't just go buy an electric car. We also can't redo our home with solar panels. Unfortunately, that's what politics and media want you to focus on. CNBC posted an article stating that climate change could cost the US federal government $2 trillion per year. However, it's most likely not in the way that you're thinking. This number is actually a representation of how much money the federal government has to pay in order to deal with droughts and wildfires and severe tropical storms due to climate change. 2 trillion. Unfortunately, we make this personal. We make it feel as though the government is attacking us and forcing us to buy electric vehicles and use natural gas. However, small changes can drastically make a difference if we acknowledge our own effect on climate change. In order to accurately be conscious of our own individual greenhouse gas emissions, we must track our carbon footprint. Doing so enables us to directly correlate our own actions to the negative greenhouse gas emissions. Tracking our carbon footprint can be the first small step to understanding the significant changes our lives can have on climate change. There are several sustainable and efficient ways to reduce our carbon footprint, including the way we eat and the way we get rid of unwanted food. An article published on cotap.org states that 13% of US gas emissions comes directly from food production, 14.5% directly from meat and dairy alone. Certainly, I could tell you to go vegan, but that's not what's important, and nobody's going to want to do that. We can make a difference just by buying local and organic foods. In doing so, this lessens the transportation needed and also reduces the use of many fossil fuel-based products, as many fertilizers contain harmful fossil fuel chemicals. Even something as simple as thrift shopping can have a dramatic effect on the environment. It's estimated that Americans discard 80 pounds of clothing per year. And unfortunately, 85% of that goes to landfills. By doing something as simple as shopping in a consignment store, you can reduce the amount of fossil fuels that are created by shipping your fast fashion clothes from other countries throughout the world. Turn lights off when you leave a room. Recycle and reuse. The list goes on. Simple is doable and it's helpful. The solutions don't have to be complex and they don't have to cost a fortune. By making small changes throughout your daily lives, we can shed light for a better future. This is a crisis. This is an emergency, and it's not one we can fix with a vaccine and a GoFundMe. We have 11 years, 415 days, 132 months. This is real, and our planet needs us to fight for it. Climate change is a crisis, and we are a trigger. But we can also become a resolution by making minuscule daily life changes.